Well, a warm hello again to all my lovely viewers and subscribers. We're finally back to Puritan paperback. So this is The Love of Christ by Richard Sibbes. So it's a little bit long, but here, this is really just a series of sermons by Richard Sibbes from the Songs of Solomon and Song of Songs, just on who Christ is. And what I really do appreciate about the Puritans is that when they do preach from the Song of Songs, they are just able to pull so many rich truths out of that book. Because I think it is a hard book to understand. It's hard to understand how all this romance and intimacy imagery sort of points to Christ and the church, and how do we understand it. But the Puritans, they did it so well. So here I can show you just a brief overview of the book. You just see here, and it's just, well, he didn't really title his sermons. It's just sermon 1, 2, 3, 4, on which verses. So if I could recommend, I don't know if you do read this, like, buckle up, right? The first sermon here you see is like 32 pages. So I don't know if he actually preached all that in one sermon. Lord have mercy on his hearers, but if he did, thank you guys for sitting through all that. Later on, though, the sermons do get a little bit shorter, so they are more bite-sized, and I found them easier to read too. They're only about 10, 12 pages maybe. But 32 at the start, oh my days, right? That's tough. But it is well worth the read, because as he develops these baseline themes, I found the later chapters were exceedingly good. They were very good, full of wonderful truth, and very devotional too. I found that as you read these sermons, you did feel like your soul was growing in its love for Christ and understanding of who Christ is. So if I can point you to the first quote, there are just 3 quotes today. Just a few things here. And here I'll point you to this second last paragraph here. So Christ is spiritually lovely, the chiefest of 10,000. The church sets him out, by comparison, a standard bearer, a carrier of the banner of 10,000. For as the goodliest men used to carry the ensign, the banner, so he, the goodliest of all other, is the standard bearer. Observation. Whence we gather that Christ, as he is beautiful and good, so he is incomparably, beyond all comparison, good. He is a standard bearer, one among 10,000, anointed with the oil of gladness above his fellows. So there's this little phrase in the Songs of Solomon, and it says that he is the chiefest or the most distinguished among 10,000. And really it's highlighting, who is like Christ. If you imagine 10,000 men, maybe even 10,000 distinguished men, well, Christ stands even higher above them. One among 10,000, he's exceptional above even them. So there, that was a helpful quote. And on the next page, actually, I should continue on this. It talks a little bit more about the excellency of Christ. So what is excellent in the heavens? The sun. So Christ is the sun of righteousness. The stars. He is the bright morning star, the light. He is the light of the world. Come to all creatures. You have not any excellence among them, but Christ is styled from it. He is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the lily and the rose, and the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world, the tree of life, etc. There is not a thing necessary to nature, but you have a style from it given to Christ, to show that he is as necessary as bread and water and the food of life. When we see light, therefore, think of the true light. When the sun, think of the sun of righteousness. So remember the bread and water of life in our common food. Therefore the sacraments were ordained that as we go to the sea by the conduct of rivers, so we might go to the sea of all excellency and goodness by the conduct of these rivers of goodness, to be led by every excellency in the creature, so that of our mediator Christ, who is the chiefest among 10,000. So simply put, Christ is excellent. And when you compare things, that's how you sort of see more of his excellence. This Because maybe, right, we see like a light. We think a light is amazing. But the moment you see the sun during the daytime, that light seems to just sort of really pale in comparison. So here, even the best that the earth has to offer, best of the animals, best of people even, Christ is far, far more excellent. He's the chiefest of 10,000. Take 10,000 of the best men. Christ, he's still distinguished. He's chiefest among them all. He's the one that carries the banner. The one who carries the banner is someone who needs to be exceptional. In Christ, he is very, very exceptional. To the next quote. Here. So use number 3. So make also a use of direction, how to come to value Christ, thus as to keep a high esteem of him. For this follows infallibly and undeniably, if Christ be the chief of 10,000, he must have the chief of our affections above 10,000. For, as he is in excellency, he must have placed in our hearts answerable thereunto. For then our souls are as they should be, when they judge of and affect things as they are in themselves. And then jumping down to here, what will come of it if Christ be set in the highest place in our hearts? If we crown him there, and make him King of kings and Lord of lords, and a hearty submitting of all the affections of the soul to him. While the soul continues in that frame, it cannot be drawn to sin, discomfort, and despair. The honors, pleasures, and profits that are got by base engagements to the humors of men, what are these to Christ? When the soul is rightly possessed of Christ and of his excellency, it disdains that anything should come in competition with them. So simply put, if you see Christ rightly and you value him rightly, then he is chief of 10,000. And if he is a chief of 10,000, the best of the best, then what does he deserve from you? And there he deserves the best from you, the highest of your affections. And one great benefit of that is if you do have Christ there on the throne of your heart, if he is that chief of 10,000 to you, then how can you look at sin? What grip does sin have over you? It doesn't. If you see Christ as he is, even just a glimpse of that, if you see a glimpse of just how great Christ is, sin, discomfort, despair, discontent, it's all nothing compared to him. If you love him, right, the lover of your soul, the one who has given himself up for you, the one who has shown you so much steadfast love and mercy, the one who has laid down his life for you, the one who is patient with you. What are all these things, right? What are all the things that the world can offer to you compared to a love like this? So, again, very wonderful truth. If you do rightly see Christ in those moments, you do understand the world has nothing to offer me. All the joys of the world, right? All those pleasures, the best things, they all just pale in comparison. And I think this is just so true because I find, those moments in sports, the moments where you feel almost like godlike, if I could use that term. What are those moments, right? They're just so fleeting, gone so quick. They elevate my pride. There's all kinds of downsides to them. But the love of Christ, if I understand how great the love of Christ is for me, everything in the world just pales in comparison. Possessions, so what? It's nice to have money, but money will be gone. Those thrills and excitements, those pleasures, again, they feel great in the moments, but they're gone in a moment. Nothing but Christ endures. In Christ, he's the best thing. All these other things, they can be taken away through other means, through injury, through loss. But Christ, if he is yours, you are his beloved, and he is your beloved. You cannot be separated from Christ. These are the greatest joys that a Christian has. So, another great and wonderful truth by Richard Sibbes there. And then just one more thing to hammer it home. So here, the context is, is Christ actually lovely? because he was crucified. And then I found this was a great illustration here, so hopefully there's enough context to understand it. But reading the quotes, there is a remarkable passage in the story of Alphonsus the king, not very well liked of some. When he saw a poor man pulling up his beast out of a ditch, he put to his hand to help him. After which, as it is recorded, his subjects ever loved him the better. It was a wonderful condescending. And is it not as wonderful that the King of heaven and earth should stoop so low as to help us poor worms out of the ditch of hell and damnation, and that, when he had set us in a state of deliverance, he should not leave us there, but advance us to such a state and condition as is above our admiration, which neither heart can conceive nor tongue express. Is not this wonderful condescending? And there, I thought that was just one of the best quotes. One was maybe because I heard a sermon on condescension, on the humility of Christ, just the previous Sunday. The other is, I think we all understand that, right? Someone who's not well liked. This king, not well liked, but then he sees this poor man whose animal's just stuck in a ditch. What does this high king do? Well, he condescends and helps this poor man. And then afterwards, he's well liked by many in his kingdom. But how about Christ? And there you can tell from that quote, Christ, he sees us poor and we're stuck in this ditch of hell and damnation. This king of the universe, king who deserves all good things, for which everything was made through him and for him. What does he do? Does he leave us poor, miserable creatures just in this ditch of hell? No, he condescends. The highest being, God himself, condescends into human form in order to save us. It's just absurd that God would do that for sinners. Because you think, who am I, right? The Bible uses phrases like, I'm a worm, I'm a dead dog, I'm nobody. I'm not someone worth dying for. But then the God of the universe, he condescends. He leaves his Father's side, condescends, he goes through a whole life of suffering, and he dies. He dies for my sin. And it's just mind-boggling, because I think here we can start to just grasp a little bit of that. In those terms, maybe it's not quite as beautiful as I'd like, but when we see like someone condescend, we see like a rich person, someone of nobility, and they just show kindness. They show so much kindness to someone who just seems undeserving. And you see those videos on like social media, and it brings you to tears, because you think, who is so kind as this? That act of kindness is beautiful. But how much more is Christ's love for his people, for the world even? Christ, he came into the world to save sinners. That was the greatest act of kindness that any man could do. That's the greatest act that God could do. Forgiveness of sin through the blood of his own Son. It leaves you at a loss for words. God condescends so far just for me, to save me from my sin, even though I don't deserve it. So, this book, a lot to meditate on. A little bit of a longer book. It's about 350 pages, so a lot of sermons in here. There are 20 sermons, so I do recommend reading this, maybe just a chapter a day, even maybe two chapters a day. That's like 20 pages. But really meditating on the love of Christ. Because I think as Christians, we often hear about the love of Christ. And then maybe, we become hardened or dull to it. We've heard it so much. But then really meditate on it and really try and wrap your mind around like the beauty of it. That's the wonderful truth here. Song of Songs, presents that relationship between two lovers. Well, Christ and the church how much better is Christ's love than any other love? Christ's love, oh, he bears with us. Oh, he's patient with us. He seeks us out. Really meditate on just how great is the love of Christ. We see it in his death, but we see it also just in how his faithfulness to us each and every day. Great is his faithfulness. New mercies each and every morning. Steadfast love that will never, never, ever depart from his people. Steadfast love that is just put into an eternal covenant, sealed with his blood. Is there anything greater than this? So the love of Christ is truly a wonderful, wonderful read. A long read, but one worth reading and meditating over. So I commend that to you. Hopefully that'll be a good read and a benefit to your walk with Christ. So I hope that's been helpful, and grace to you all and peace.